That's okay.
We're just taking one test.
I'm trying to walk as much as possible because that works the muscles that you can't do in physical therapy. So
Oh, we're gonna see Coach.
within reason.
Katie, I gotta say, I just stayed with me today, because I got my times mixed up until I saw you.
Oh, well.
And then I called Jeremy, I said, so what time is the meeting?
Always.
No, almost at 6:30.
Yeah, I got there.
Yeah, this,
I came real close on that.
they've been 5:30 since the first email, y'all.
I.
I've got some questions.
Remind me who's first. Ethan.
Peter.
Okay.
So.
Did you put those? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, I get back to Jeremy.
Oh.
I didn't realize they had a fancy.
You can show it just.
Right. Is everybody ready? I'm gonna call this meeting to order.
Good.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:32. Let us do our usual pledge and we'll begin business. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, since we keep waiting, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. We're each gonna ask a question, one at a time. And we're gonna try and keep it within the 30 minutes so that we're not.
Good. We're gonna do number 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you doing a question or just us?
Okay,
Two. If you did one,
how about if we just start at Kitty's end and work our way around, is that okay?
sounds good, or?
Keith, can you hear us okay?
Yes, coming through loud and clear. Thank you.
Fantastic.
We're glad to have you tonight. Thank you.
Yes.
for joining us.
All
So
right.
did you hear the mayor's game plan?
Yes, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right, how about really quick, just so you know who we are, we'll just introduce ourselves and we'll start with Kitty or Counselor Mackin.
Okay, hi, Kitty Mackin. This is 10 years, year 10 on council.
Nice to meet you, Katie. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Bo Wilkins, city councilman.
Mine doesn't work. My name is Drew Hildebrandt. I'm the city council president. I've been on council for about 4 years.
Hello, sir. We briefly spoke before, Matt Frank, the mayor.
Hi Keith, I'm Robin Peterson, councilperson.
Hey Keith, I'm Chris Dykro, counselor. I've been here about a little over 2 years.
Hi Keith, thanks for coming. My name is Scott Overwood and I'm a pro tem counselor. I've just been filling in. Those right?
Excellent. All right, well, we'll just jump right into business and we'll start with Kitty with the first question.
All right, what does success look like for you at the 30, 60, and 90-day marks in an interim assignment?
All right, well, success ultimately is transitioning you to a regular full-time city manager. So my role here as the interim will be to facilitate that process, to help you move forward with that and basically keep the wheels on the wagon during this period of transition. Obviously, the organization is going to be going in through a transition. You've got Jeremy, you're familiar with him. You're going to be looking at an interim that's, more upset and stress in the organization. And I am going to try and keep things as calm as possible. I'm not going to try and push anything forward. I'm not going to delay anything unreasonably. I'm going to try to play this to middle with council to facilitate continuing to do the work of the city while preparing you to have a new city manager. And frankly, Jeremy's done a great job in facilitating this transition, and I certainly would want to replicate what he's done, 3 months or, 5 months or whatever that may be from now.
Thank you, sir. Council Wilkins?
All right, so question number 2, leadership transitions can create uncertainty among staff. How would you assess organizational morale and build trust with employees during your first few weeks?
So one of the beautiful things about working in a small organization is you get a chance to meet and to know everybody. Beyond just the first name, you get to know about them, and there's enough time to be able to understand what their needs are and hopefully to help address them. Again, the important thing in this process is that there's steadiness, that people feel like there's somebody in charge. There's somebody that they can go to when there's issues or concerns. And I would attempt to be that person. But primarily from a staffing perspective, I look to support people based on their strengths. So how can I identify what people's strengths are is by talking to them and understanding how they work and where they're comfortable and where they see friction and where they see need for support. And where they see needs for support, particularly from the city manager, is where I would jump in and be involved. I understand that there's been a petition filed for creating a union. That obviously is something that we'll need to respond to collectively and move that forward. There's some other things that need to be moved forward. And I would be talking to the staff and letting them know, where we are from a city perspective, from a council perspective, in moving those important issues forward.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, question number 3, what is your philosophy and priorities regarding the city budgeting for our library, parks, and public recreational areas?
Well, I'm not sure as I have specific priorities for those areas, but from a city management perspective, what we're always striving for is to exercise our fiduciary responsibility in a professional way. And that means making decisions with city council about its priorities and its ability to meet those priorities. So Parks and Recreation taking on additional responsibility, for example, there's a cost associated with that, and we really need to understand what those costs are and how we're going to meet them on a short and a long-term basis. When I was in the city of Olympia as assistant city manager, we often talked about the bow wave effect. Okay, this is something that we can afford to do today, but what is it going to look like, 3 years from now or 5 years from now? Are we still going to be able to maintain that program? And those are the kinds of questions and discussions that we're going to have as we consider all the different options and all the different priorities that council may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. When you enter a new organization as an interim executive, how do you identify which issues require immediate attention and which can wait for the next permanent city manager?
So obviously, coming into this role, you are going to be my constituency and you're also going to be my advisors. I'm going to need to sit down with each one of you and understand what your priorities are and what council's stated priorities are. I've had a chance to read those. I've read the budget message. So I have a general understanding of the city's needs and the city's priorities and goals. But when we sit down and we talk about, okay, in the first 30 days, what are our priorities? What are we going to be aiming for? Uh, where should I be spending my time, and what's going to bring us the most, return on investment, if you will? Obviously, you've got some things going on with the county. You've got these labor issues. You've got some things with the utilities. So, you know, let's talk about what your priorities are and how we move those forward. You're fortunate you got your budget resolved, so you know what next year is going to look like. So we're already past that. So from a city management perspective, now we're into the implementation phase. And I would be looking for to you to help, establish what my priorities are. And I would do that by listening to you and probably providing you something in writing within the first, couple of weeks about, hey, here's what I'm hearing, here's where I think we need to go over the next 3 months, and get started in that way.
Thank you.
All right. Tell us about a time when you stepped into an organization during a period of change or instability. What were the key challenges and what did you do to stabilize the operation?
So when I joined the city of Salem in 2022, it was definitely in a very serious financial crisis. Uh, talk about bow wave. They had made commitments through contracts for police and for fire that were expensive. And my job coming in there was to recognize that and to raise my hand and say, hey, we're going to need to do something. Cities have two levers. One is what your expenses are, the other is your revenues. And we can pull either one of those levers. We're going to have to pull one of them in order to sustain these operations. So after lengthy discussions with city council and the community, ultimately they chose to pull the revenue lever. And they chose that, and it was a very politically tumultuous process. And ultimately, I was asked to resign in that process after an election and a change in mayor and a change in city council. Uh, but ultimately, they followed through on the plan that I developed, and they passed a levy that funded their library and their parks and recreation system for the next 5 years. Without that, we were anticipating closing the library and substantially reducing parks and recreation, particularly parks maintenance. We were looking at really like dialing that back to just the bare minimums.
Thank you.
All right, what unique strengths and experiences do you bring that would help our community navigate this transition period?
Well, I've been in local government for over 40 years now. So we were talking with the mayor last week, and the difference between a small community and a large community, there really isn't a difference. The reality is your city councilors, there's 7 of you, and you set the policy direction and staff implements that. That's the same whether it's a 2,600 person community or 260,000 person community in a council manager form of government. So that's where we're going to start, and that's where we'll continue to go as we go forward. And I've got literally, 40 years of experience in working in that setting and working with councils. But the thing that I think I'm uniquely qualified, if you will, is I'm pretty unafraid of like, making really hard decisions. I recognize that, back in 2024, when I was, working with city council in Salem, that there was going to be a risk to my job, and that was just the reality of it. And I had to continue to advise council and to press that forward. And ultimately, like I said, they put a measure on the levy and it passed. So I would do the same with you. I'm not there to please you. I'm not there to impress myself. I'm not looking to pad my resume here. I'm not looking out, what city am I going to become city manager next? I'm simply here to support you through this process. And in the end, if we're successful and we land a good candidate, I can hand that off to that person and step out, and you'll say, "Whoa, that was good. We were smooth. We handled that really well. We feel good about the outcome. Thank you, Mr. Staley. Have a good life." So there we go.
Thank you. So how do you view the role of an interim city manager in preparing the organization for permanent manager?
Well, again, it's managing through this interim period. It's knowing that you're not there on a permanent basis. You're renting the car, you're not owning the car. You're renting the house, you don't own the house. And as a result of that, you're going to have a different relationship with the organization and with the community and with the council. Uh, my job is to prepare you and to prepare the community and to prepare the organization for that transition and do it to the best of my abilities, and then step out of the way and say thank you very much. Best of luck to you all.
Thank you. We'll start back down there.
Okay. So we're on 8 now. If appointed, what level of availability could you provide? How long would you be willing to serve? And are there any logistical considerations the council should understand when evaluating the overall cost and feasibility of your appointment? Examples may include relocation needs, temporary housing, transportation arrangements, or limitations on weekly work hours.
So right now, I don't have any other work that I'm responsible for. So, my week is relatively open. I live in Bend, and obviously Dayton is not within a comfortable commuting distance. So logistically, I'm going to need to figure out, okay, what does that look like? What are my options there? I've looked at some of them, certainly haven't made any, final plans. Obviously, they're contingent on what happens here going forward. That's frankly the biggest challenge is finding a place to live that's comfortable. We've had some conversations about what does this job demand? Is it 40 hours a week or is it 60 hours a week? Frankly, I'm not interested in 60 hours a week. I've done that, and that's not what I'm looking for right now. So if that's what you think is needed, then you're probably looking at somebody else. Uh, from what I understand and what I see, and based on the size of the organization, I think that somewhere between 24 and 32 hours a week would be sufficient. But that's just that's an outsider's perspective, not based on a whole lot of reality. So. Other things that you mentioned, the only one that really is of concern is, finding a temporary place to live. I don't want to live out of my van or whatever. So, I'll be looking for a place to call home.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay, do we have any follow-up questions? Because we have about 10 more minutes we can utilize if we have any follow-up questions. Please.
Keith, why do you think you're the best person for this job?
Well, given that I don't know who the other candidates are, I can't tell you that I'm the best person. I know, the only person that I can talk about with any authority is myself. I know that I'm competent and capable and interested in what you have in front of you. I was surprised in talking with Jeremy and the mayor about some of the issues that you have in front of you. They're complicated and frankly interesting from a city manager perspective. There are issues that I've dealt with before. I think you're looking at studying your space needs, for example, for City Hall and for the library. I've been involved in space planning in Olympia and in Salem. It's an environment that I'm very comfortable in. Having been a community planning and development director, I'm very comfortable with planning and with building permitting issues and just the design process in general. My educational background, going back 40 years is I was a landscape architect. That's where I started my career in South Florida, was in the Palm Beach County Building Department, reviewing building plans for compliance with landscape standards and their zoning code. So I'm very capable and comfortable working on those issues. Labor relations, I've been through the process of, at least in the state of Washington, of, of having a department go from unrepresented to represented, and I'm comfortable in that relationship. Basically, treat people well, and there's only so much we can do. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Just a quick question, the city manager job in Dayton, it actually involves several different roles, one of which being the ordinance officer, and there's some other ancillary roles that require sort of boots on the ground. Regular boots on the ground type of activities, barking dog complaints, litter mitigation, fire control, and that kind of thing. Do you feel like with the time you want to spend in this position that you'll have enough time to really address those? Because as Jeremy can probably tell you, there's quite a bit of activity in our ordinance department. So.
Well, I have been involved in code enforcement issues practically my whole life, so I'm comfortable understanding the regulatory process and implementing that process. If it's me, I'd have some learning to do as to what the city's process is, but I have been there with the dogs, with the overgrown weeds, with the inoperative vehicles, with trash and debris and the other things that generally rise to the top of a code enforcement officer's agenda on a daily basis. Now, whether or not, you want me doing that or somebody else, I guess that's something that, we could talk about as we go forward. But I'm comfortable with that. I just finished up a working with the local council of governments, the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council here in Bend. And, I was writing reports and doing the work on the ground, developing committee meetings and helping facilitate and actually writing a disaster management plan for Deschutes County. So, I'm comfortable working at a council manager level and also at a staff level, and none of that work is below me or above me.
Well, you would be the ordinance officer if you took this interim job. You'd be the guy at the doorstep talking to people like that. So
I've been out. I have this, even as the city manager of the city of Salem, almost 200,000 people, I accompanied our code enforcement officers out to the site on some of their toughest cases, just so I could understand what was going on. There were accusations going back and forth, and I wanted to get out and actually see what was happening on the ground and go out and meet with the explain it and meet with the property owner and really understand the issues, and was able to make, a better assessment about how to move forward with that information. So I'm comfortable, talking with just about anybody.
Thank you.
Excellent. We can take one more, or if Keith has any questions he'd like to ask.
No, I'm good. I appreciated the opportunity to talk to Mayor Frank last week and had a couple conversations with Jeremy. So, and reading your budget message and other things on the website, I feel like I'm reasonably comfortable with where you are as an organization. I don't feel like I would be stepping into the chaos roller coaster. It certainly isn't something that I'm looking for. I don't want to come in and be your hero. I want to come in and be the guy that a year from now you don't even remember me. You just remember that, okay, things went well. So if that's the case, then that'd be great.
All right, thank you so much for your time,
All right.
Keith. Have a
Great
fabulous
evening.
evening.
You too. Thank you. Bye. Y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
This time I'll start down here and go all the way up.
Yeah, there is a reason I like this.
All righty, who's coming in? Christie?
I think we see where she's from. We'll see if I can pick the right question to read this time.
It's okay, I can't.
I went, oh, shoot.
Figured it out.
Welcome.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone. How are you?
We're gonna do, some quick introductions and then we'll get into some questions. I will start at this end down here with Counselor Hover.
Scott Homer, counselor. Well, I have to say.
Chris Typer, City Council, been here a little over 2 years.
Hi, Christie, I'm Robin Peterson, City Council.
Hi, Chrissy, Annette Franks, Mayor.
Hi, Chrissy. My name is Drew Hildebrandt. I'm the city council president. I've been here for about 4 years.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Chrissy, I'm Cole. I've been a city councilor for about a year. And interim.
Hello, Christy. Good to see you again. You knew me as Kitty Brown, but Kitty Mackin in year 10.
Thank you for those introductions, everyone. So nice to meet all of you and be with you this evening to talk about this interim role.
Excellent. We're gonna just jump right into it and we're gonna start with Counselor Hofer and he's gonna begin with our first question.
Okay.
Okay, what does success look like for you at the 30, 60, and 90-day marks in the interim assignment?
Well, in the 30-day period, I hope to actually be moving quite along quite rapidly on the council's goals. I think that at that 30-day mark, I will have already had a good assessment of the community since I'm already familiar with it, having worked for the city as first-time city manager several years back. Dayton was my first city that I managed, and so I think that I'll probably in that first 30 days be further ahead than I would anticipate because of my familiarity with the community already. I already know many people that live and reside in the community, and I'm familiar with many of the areas of focus throughout this interim period and the work that needs to be done. At the 60-day mark, we will definitely be rolling along in moving towards completion of some of the goals that have been set for the council. And we hope to have likely the interviews will be scheduled. We'll have either a recruitment firm or we will have posted the advertisement for the position. And then at the 90-day mark, we will again be closing in on your new candidate and hoping to get them on board close to that 4 to 5 month time frame, as well as working towards your operating levy that you have scheduled for the November election, moving through the election process and getting some of these franchise fees finalized for you and updated as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leadership transitions can create uncertainty among staff. How would you assess organizational morale and build trust with employees during your first few weeks?
Well, I've had a lot of experience doing that. If you had an opportunity to look at my resume, I've done several interim roles throughout my career. And it's something I'm really good at because I'm a people person and I can understand the trepidation in staff as they're coming under new leadership. You know, what to expect from that leader, what's it going to mean to them. And I really just meet with staff and assure them that we are going to get through this process. We're going to get them a candidate that is going to lead the city well and just try to reassure them that everything's going to be okay.
Thank you.
What is your philosophy and what are your priorities regarding the city budgeting for our library, parks, and public recreational areas?
Library, parks, and public recreation. Well, definitely for the library is to find solutions to how we can keep it going because as you all know, the library does take a good share of the general funds of the city. I know that we've had to reduce staffing in the library area this coming year. And so perhaps finding volunteers that can help assist our library director in keeping that momentum going and providing ongoing service to our residents as far as library services go. As far as parks, it's one of my definite loves. While I was in Dayton before, we did develop one of the parks. And public recreation, of course, is always important to people in the community and just assessing what Dayton has to offer and encouraging those that live and work in Dayton to take advantage of the amenities that we do have.
Thank you.
Right. Tell us about a time when you stepped into an organization during a period of change or instability. What were the key challenges and what did you do to stabilize the operation?
Okay, well, that happens at every city that I've been an interim manager for. But probably the most notable was the city of Monmouth, and that was my the last interim role that I had as a city manager. And because of the change, we were moving into a new city hall location. And when I came on board, I realized that the amount of money that was owed to complete city hall was greater than what we had budgeted and even greater than what we had available in our contingency funds. So looking at that and trying to find a solution to, number one, how we could accomplish payments for the ongoing work to complete City Hall, and then moving into our budget and looking at the 5-year forecast to assess, wow, we're really going to have to make some drastic changes in order to continue the operations of the community in the city. And so we had to propose some very hard changes, which included cuts to personnel. Working through that process with staff and council and the community was a very arduous and difficult thing to do. But we did come through the process and we made minor cuts in each of the departments with minimal impacts to each of the positions so that employees wouldn't actually, I think we only lost one full-time position. The other positions were reduced so that the employees would be allowed to retain their benefits and continue to work for the city until the budget recovered. And then after I left, the city did implement a public safety fee, which I understand you have all gone through as well.
Thank you.
When you enter a new organization as an interim executive, how do you identify which issues require immediate attention and which can wait for the next permanent city manager?
Well, I always try to address everything that I can while I'm still in that interim role so that the city is set and ready to go when your new manager comes on board. Mentoring staff, I meet with them one-on-one, collectively as a group, and just get to understand the issues that they're going through. Of course, the council goals are always the highest priority. Getting your new manager ready to ready and going through that process for the hiring of your new manager. And you know, I think it's just being personable with your staff. You're all from a small community. I love small communities. I've worked primarily in small communities throughout my career. And it's the people that really make the difference. If your staff isn't, if their morale is low, they're not happy in what they're doing, you're not going to get a good work product. You're not going to accomplish your goals because it takes an entire team of people to accomplish that. It's not the city manager themselves. It's not the council themselves. It is really a collective effort.
Thank you.
What unique strengths or experiences do you bring that would help our community navigate this transition process?
Well, like I said, I've worked in Dayton before, so I do know quite a few people in Dayton. And my other strengths and experience are obviously that I've served in several interim capacities throughout my career, so I'm very familiar with it, and I'm quick to learn what the issues are right away so that they can be addressed during that interim time period. I've been in local government since August of '95 and worked through various positions, and so I understand what my staff does on a daily basis, and it helps me quickly assess, you know, what their strengths and maybe, you know, some of the other things that they need to work on, and I help them through that. And, you know, those are some of my outstanding strengths that really would poise me for the position.
Hi. How do you view the role of an interim city manager in preparing the organization for a permanent city manager?
Well, I think getting the input from the staff throughout the hiring process is really important. Communicating with staff, finding out what they're looking for in a leader and communicating that to the council so that as you're making your selection and your next leader for the community, that you also have the input from the staff because they are the key to getting everything accomplished for your community. Like I said earlier, Kitty, the most important thing is getting the community and the city ready for that manager so that they are successful on day one moving forward. They know what the issues are. They know what the plans that have been put in place and how they can accomplish the goals that the council sets for the community.
Thank you.
I guess I should also add that in some of the roles that I've served as an interim, I've helped facilitate the recruitment process for the community. And so that is another thing that the interim plays a major part in at times, if that's the desire of the council.
This last question is kind of a long, has several elements to it, so I'll let you know if you need me to repeat any part of it, okay?
Okay.
If appointed, what level of availability could you provide? How long would you be willing to serve? And are there any logistical considerations the council should understand when evaluating the overall cost and feasibility of your appointment? So any logistical stuff, how long would you be willing to stay? Examples of those may include relocation needs, temporary housing, transportation arrangements, limitations on weekly work hours.
Okay. So my availability is I'm available right away. I am out of state right now, but I checked flights earlier today and there are several flights available out of Billings, Montana in the next several days. Earlier in the week, I did meet with Mayor Frank and with Jeremy, and I understand that Jeremy's last day is the 15th, and he would like to have some overlap to share, you know, the status of many of the issues. I'm available, you know, pretty much anytime after July 1st, if that's the desire of the council, so we would have a longer overlap. I haven't generally had an overlap that long, but certainly could be available July 6th if that was the desire of the council. So I am available and ready to show up. I would not ask the city for any compensation for that travel to Oregon. And the reason is because I have family that lives in the area. My sister and nephew live in West Salem and are very close. And logistically, I would be able to stay with my sister until I'm able to find a place to rent closer to Dayton. But she does live way out West Salem off of Wallace Road, so it's pretty convenient for me to get there and move right into her house, even though she's doing a kitchen remodel. But I could be there and have a place to live immediately. The length of service, I'd be willing to serve probably through about December 19th. I'd like to drive home back to Wyoming, where I reside, and be here for the holidays if possible. Of course, the hope would be that we would have a candidate selected and be ready for you to bring that person on board at the first of the year. So you might be a couple of weeks without a city manager, but I think that happens all the time when you have a vacation schedule or something like that, and it'll be the holidays. As far as transportation, I will have to purchase a car when I get there. And so I may need to utilize a city vehicle for a few days. Of course, I could borrow my sister's car if it's needed, if the city doesn't have one available, but I think Jeremy said that there could be a possibility of that. So I think everything looks pretty favorable for me moving to Dayton right away and helping the community through that transitional process.
Do you have any time, do you consider this a 40-hour job, or would you like to work less than that, or you really work more than that? Or what are you thinking about time spent on the job for people?
Well, I think you can make it whatever it is. You know, when I worked in Dayton the first time, I probably was working 60-hour weeks, which is way too much, but that's sometimes what it takes in a community your size. I am available full-time. Of course, if there's no funding for, you know, a full-time city manager, I'm certainly willing and flexible to work less hours if that's what you need. I guess then it also depends on your expectations during that interim time period and what you would like to see accomplished, what your priorities would be. Obviously, you want to get your recruitment completed and going, but you know, there are other several key issues that you're working through, and how much time you want me to spend on those types of things is completely up to you and your direction, but I'm available 40 hours a week plus and willing to serve whatever you need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else?
Yeah, sure. So we're going a little bit off script at this point in time, so bear with me. I find your history with Dayton is actually really fascinating and really interesting to me. And I kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit. So during your time in Dayton, especially being that it was your first city manager position, when looking back, do you recall any specific formative moments here that have guided you since, or areas that you're looking forward to revisiting if you come back?
Well, I can say that one of my the best experience I had in Dayton was the creation and purchasing the land for Palmer Creek Lodge and redeveloping it into a community center. We were able to find funding for that with no outstanding debt to the community, which I hope you all appreciate. That was such an amazing project, and I see that you're all there tonight, and it just really is rewarding to see that. So that's really wonderful. I think I'm really interested because I have a background in public works and had worked for the city of Dallas for 13 years and came up through the ranks in public works. I really have a passion for public infrastructure and getting a chance to work on that regional intertie again. You know, I did much of the negotiations to start that, and you know, just working through the issues with the council and how you can bring a redundant water supply to your community. That's really exciting. Of course, you know, working through the issues with the wells, that's no question. I see that Denny Muchmore is still your city engineer, which is great. I worked with Denny way back then, And he's an amazing person and really understands your water system. And so just really looking forward to the opportunity to see everyone again and get to work on some of these projects again. Of course, you've got your urban renewal that's just getting started, which is really exciting. I've managed urban renewal districts before in other communities, and it was great to see that you have got that started in Dayton. We talked about it way back when. And also some of the other issues that you have coming up. Just looking forward to all of it because I love Dayton so much, and I think it would be amazing to, start my career and end my career working for the same city.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any follow-up?
Yeah, so Christy, why should we hire you? What makes you the best for this position?
Well, I know Dayton intimately. I know your issues very well. I've gone through them. I have worked with some of the staff and council members before, and I would love to be back in your community, back in Oregon, helping you through this transition because it's what I do best and what I'm passionate about.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jeremy, did you have any questions you wanted to pose?
No, ma'am, Chris and I had a good conversation, in fact, get good conversation with all the candidates, you have a solid slate for you, but Christy maybe has some questions she wants to ask of us.
Yeah,
Okay,
you have.
sure. I know, Jeremy, that you'd like to have some overlap with me. What is the ideal time frame for you? And I'd also like to hear from the council what your thoughts are on that.
So for me, I do. Let me look at my schedule. If I can get some quality time with an interim that first full week of July, that would be awesome.
July 6th.
Yeah, July 6th.
Okay.
If we could get a week, that would be great, but I'll take whatever I can get.
Okay, I think that would be doable. Let's see. I noticed when we talked earlier in the week, Jeremy, you also mentioned that you had some code enforcement responsibilities and some building permit review responsibilities. And you were considering assigning those to someone else or finding potentially somebody to do those roles. What is the status of those assignments for the city?
Like to have a session with an intergovernmental partner in a week's time to follow up on some ideas we shared months ago about potentially utilizing their resources for code. So all of this is still in the conceptual phase right now, but I hope it's more fleshed out by the time the interim comes on board.
Okay. And is your enforcement complaint driven, or do you actually go out and look for violations?
Right now it's complaint driven because we don't have a single person dedicated to that. I'm supposed to be in. I don't have time to but so certain things are in the queue. But we have an online portal, makes it really convenient where people can submit complaints. And then if somebody comes into City Hall and has a complaint, you can go in the portal and create a case, enter case notes. It can automatically generate letters. You can interact with complainants through the system, so it streamlines it and it keeps track of things. It also has reminders. It's just having somebody who has the time to stay on top of it. Right now, we have a backlog of about 50 complaints in the government system. So
Okay.
if I can have some overlap with somebody, they can sit in the office and do what they do while I go out and clear out that backlog cases.
Okay, well, we certainly could look at that. I also, when I was in Dayton before, I enjoyed getting out into the community and visiting with people that reside there and I know we used to go to the coffee clutch. And that's where I really found out what was going on because everybody was in there talking about it. Yes, I'm certainly willing to do whatever the city needs, whether
Cutting out there,
what's that?
your microphone was cutting out.
Okay. I'm certainly willing to perform that role if that's what the desire of the council is to focus up my time on. I
Sorry, but the volume is really, really low.
wonder why.
Is that
Okay,
all right?
see what I can do here.
It just went down like all of a sudden, like. I don't
Is
know.
this better?
No, it's-
It might hurt us.
No? Okay.
Well, I think we got.
Yeah, Christy, it's okay, because I think we've got enough and we're almost close to the end anyway, so we appreciate you taking the time and everything. And look forward to talking to you at a later date.
Okay, well, I hope to hear from you next week. I know you've got some interviews again on Monday, and I hope that the conversation following is a call to me.
Got it. Thank you, we got that. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Christy, appreciate it.
Thank you, have a great
Love
one
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
too.
That's the hard part about doing so still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far we've worked out.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, I mean, we got most of it anyways. More than 3/4. Jeremy, is there anything else on the agenda other than these things?
Nothing else on the agenda, so we'll meet again tomorrow. For those of you who can't be here, as you see, it's being recorded. You'll be able to see the recording on our YouTube channel.
I don't know what 10 till 10 anyways, because like, so I'll be up at my forehand in Seattle, but hopefully at 5:30 I'll be able to get off. Share this.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So.
We are adjourned 6:22.
You want these back?
Yes, it does. But Kathy, if you want to, if you